It's a condition that affects thousands of families across the UK, including my next guest. Her husband, Royal Marine Peter Emerson-Thomas, was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder back in 2016. Before this, he had completed 3 tours of Afghanistan, with things getting so bad that at one point he actually wanted to end his own life. Well, Peter, he's now having treatment and therefore can't be here today. But his wife, Alecia, joins me now. And Alecia, when he came back from Afghanistan that last time, you noticed something very different about him? He was a different person?
He was a completely different person. It was almost like he'd gone as Pete and he'd come back as a ravaged, war-torn individual.
Gosh. So he was very different, obviously under an awful lot of pressure, I believe, you know, when he came back.
Absolutely. When he first returned, it was his 3rd tour, as you've mentioned.
Yeah.
His father was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and so he had outside pressures as well as the pressures of dealing with what he'd seen whilst deployed. And those, dealing with life's pressures as well as dealing with just the day-to-day ins and outs really took its toll on him.
Very, very difficult. As a police officer at the time, you could recognise the signs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you could see what was going on, obviously trying to talk to him, but almost impossible to get through.
Very difficult. I mean, there's very much in the military this bravado of not wanting to admit that anything's wrong, being scared of potentially losing a career because they're worried that if they mention it to anybody, there's always the potential that they won't be able to deploy again, they won't be able to use live firing anymore. So they're scared of the career that they potentially could lose, and therefore they don't want to seek help.
That's so sad, and attitudes need to change, absolutely need to change. And I would like to think that it's getting a little bit better, but in your experience, was that something he was really concerned about?
He joined at a young age, having left university, and it was the career that he'd always dreamed of since he was a young boy. He imagined that he would be in the military for the rest of his career. So the thought of ever having to be a civilian, so to speak, is something that he just never considered before. So
difficult. And as you said, a broken man, and got so bad that there was actually a big cry for help, wasn't there? There was one moment that really, for you, must have been absolutely distressing beyond belief.
He'd displayed symptoms for years, sort of hypervigilance, difficulty sleeping, you know, sort of more startled response to stimuli. And that was building over a number of years to the point where in 2016, after using alcohol as well to try and numb emotions, everything came to a head on Remembrance Sunday of 2016. He had drunk too much, he was out with friends. The memories in relation to Remembrance Sunday were quite difficult. And at that point, he broke. He broke in front of a lot of people. He was brought home by 2 lovely police officers, and I knew that that was the point where he had to get help.
Yes, absolutely had to get help. And how is he now? How is he doing?
It's the beginning of a very long road.
Yeah, it takes a while, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's had a couple of years, unfortunately, where he's had to wait for treatment. There wasn't anything on offer available to him, the treatment that unfortunately he's just had to wait too long, and perhaps if he'd have had treatment a little bit sooner he wouldn't be facing medical discharge now. But he is finally in treatment. He's getting fantastic help in the unit that he's from, and his current therapist is lovely, really good. So it's the beginning of a long road.
It's going to be a long journey, it really is. And the effect on the family, the effect on you, because he's through no fault of his own whatsoever, obviously, he's not really the man you married.
No.
You know, he's not. And you have to adjust to that, and the kids have to adjust to that as well.
Yeah, we've got 3 boys at varying ages, and it's really hard for them because my husband gets tired very easily. When they want to go out and do something, perhaps he's not in the right frame of mind to be able to go out and do something. He struggles to deal with the stress in the household, the noise of the boys, and the active boys as well.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
So he struggles, and then it's almost like I have to play, you know, defence to try and stop them from all falling out with one another. I have to regularly remind him not to argue with a 5-year-old.
How are you? Because all of this is on you, an awful lot of it. How are you doing?
I think with 10 years in the police, I learnt to cope very well under pressure. Okay. So I just keep going because I know that if I stop, I may not be able to start again. So it's one of those situations where I just can't take my foot off of the gas. I have to keep going.
You have to take care of yourself as well.
Absolutely.
You really do. You really do. And we have to be more aware about this. And we have to actually make sure that we have a climate where people in the armed forces can actually come out and say, I'm struggling and I need a bit of help without feeling there's something, because there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm amazed that not every single person isn't going through this. It's horrific what they see and what they have to put up with. So it's trying to change those attitudes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really important that families, parents of service personnel, partners, and even older children are aware of the symptoms, aware of what to look out for. And when they're hearing things from the person who's serving, like, don't tell work that I did this because I might lose my job, it's really important that they know that there is help out there and that they can reach out, because ignoring it is just... you can't ignore it.
No, you can't. No. You absolutely can't. It can end in absolute tragedy otherwise. And people at the top have got to listen. They've got to listen too. It's about changing attitudes, and you're doing your bit to help.
Thank you.
You really are. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Give him our love. I hope he's doing okay. Like you say, it'll be a long, hard road, but I hope you get there in the end.